Any other police force would have had him removed instead of promoted and exonerated. So, we absolutely need an investigation into him. But of course, Biden pardoned him on the way out the door too. So, we're waiting in front of this jail because, as usual, DC has been torturing these men and women for the whole time they've been in there, and they continue the process. These men should have been out before midnight last night, and yet these jackboot thuggery people behind us just continue to prolong the process. We were out here till 1 o'clock in the morning last night. It was freezing, but we were doing it with great glee, expecting to see our people come out. We do have a house here in DC that we call the Eagle's Nest, which is very much not an ode to Hitler, and we won that war, so we took the name back. And we were lucky enough to receive Stuart Rhodes and the Lego Man, and we have been housing some Jan 6 political prisoners as they get out, and we have been able to welcome them back to the community. But the guys behind us still waiting and still waiting and still waiting, because that's how DC does things, because they're used to doing whatever they want to do, and now that Trump's back in power, they're going to have to dance to a new tune to answer to some regulations and some a new sheriff in town. Any other police force would
public accountability. Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live. This is the Morning Loop. Pamela Roden sent us this video, and it is good. I believe that's Ashley Babbitt's mother, correct?
Yes, that is Ashley Babbitt's mother.
Ashley Babbitt's mother, the one lady that one of the two women who were shot and killed at the Capitol during January 6th insurrection riots. Again, amazing that in an insurrection, the only people that get killed are the people there, and none of the public defenders are injured. So, I guess if you're on the left and you're bad faith, you just say, that's because they're good at their job.
Well, amazing that the police are good at their job when they're going after right-wingers, but when they're going after,
the left,
people of color, anybody on the left, they're evil, no good doers, and they need to be stopped and defunded.
Again, it's all about politics. If you have the right politics, you can get away with murder. If you don't, you'll be sitting in jail without a trial for, gosh, how many years is it now? These people have been held without trial since 2020.
Yeah, a lot of them. Some of them have for sure, yeah.
So, again, these people need to be freed. They need to be freed yesterday, and they should have never been locked up. Again, this is political prosecutions. Again, regular people, we don't have the power that Trump has. Trump has almost unlimited resources. Regular Joes who support him don't. And this is what happens when you don't have money. You get thrown in jail. And you're not allowed to make money to support your family. There are women, grandmas who are locked up, but more importantly, there are men locked up who can't support their families and kids, So this is bad news, but I'm glad Trump's in office. Those people better be released today. And it's disgusting what's happening here. The fact that, I'm sure there might be some paperwork stuff going on in the background, but again, imagine it's so easy to lock these people up for 4 years, but it's not easy to just open the doors and say, all right, you're free to go because the president blanket pardoned everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So this is nuts, man. How long do you think it took for whenever Biden released people? They were out that day. Child porn people, human traffickers, human smugglers, weapons dealers, whoever Biden pardoned. He doesn't even know how many of the 8,000 people he pardoned. I don't even think Trump pardoned that many people. With this sweeping blanket pardon he just gave these J6ers, it's still not even close to 8,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true. But that's what the first article I have pulled up here from Newsweek. Officials stop release of J6 inmates following Trump's pardon. Washington, D.C. police pushed back the supporters of January 6 detainees after it became clear not all prisoners would be immediately released following the president's pardon. Although Newsweek saw email comment from the Washington, D.C. prison services on Monday. Why it matters. On the first day of on the White House, President Donald Trump granted pardons to almost all, if not more than 1,500 people convicted for their roles in January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol.
And it says convicted. Some of these people, again, have not been convicted of anything. They're just being held without trial.
That's how you know that this is partisan, because they've already inserted something in here that is not true in this. I have another article pulled up, and it'll show you the complete difference between
How the left,
how the
right.
left operates on this, now the right does. But we'll continue with this one because this one's kind of fair-ish, except for that statement you just saw right there.
Mm-hmm.
What to know? Let's see here. Oh, in doing so, Trump told the assembled media that he hoped all the remaining prisoners would be released that night. Trump's actions have legitimized the rioters after the FBI and other federal agencies spent tens of millions of dollars hunting them and prosecuting them. Hunting them. Not looking for them, not trying to find them, hunting them. Interesting choice of words right there.
Yeah.
And prosecuting them for their attempts to stop Congress from confirming Joe Biden's win in 2020 election.
You mean wasting tens of millions of taxpayer dollars looking up people who were peacefully assembling and protesting, the grandmas taking tours of the Capitol on January 6th. That's what we're talking about here.
And remember, there was one lady that got arrested who was never there.
Yeah. She
She got confused for another Trump supporter that was there, and she was arrested.
Yeah. Again, fine work by our government, wasting our tax dollars arresting people who weren't even there.
Yep. Said, what to know. Several online videos show supporters gathering outside the Central Detention Facility in Washington, D.C. on Monday evening. Several January 6 rioters were being held there, and their supporters demanded their release after Trump's pardon. Police could be seen pushing back supporters in several videos posted on online social media. News Nation, Brian Intin posted a video of his own on X with the comment, family and supporters of January 6 defendants are waiting for them to be released after their pardons. Timing is unclear. Police pushed the crowd back from the doors. Most people are across the street now. In later videos, police sergeant was telling a woman that the prison authorities would not be releasing all of the pardoned detainees that night and that he was waiting to hear more information. A man close by shouted, and it was an abuse of the prison regulations. The policeman continued speaking calmly and explained that he was awaiting further instructions. I mean, that is part of the problem. Is like, the police officer outside standing guard does not know what's going on inside the police station.
Again, this should really fall down onto whoever's in charge of that precinct, whoever's in charge of that particular holding cell or prison district. I mean, that guy should have been on his desk and been like, yeah, let him out. Donald Trump said it. He signed the executive order. There's literally nothing else that needs to be done.
Yep.
But again, this is what happens when you have bureaucrats and, left-wing partisans in power. They're going to sit there and be like, nope, we have to do this by the book. Or not even by the book. I'll get it done on my timeline, not the president's timeline.
Exactly.
I don't answer to the president. I wasn't appointed to this job. I was elected to this job, or I did an interview for this job. It's like, well, the highest man in the land said do this, and you're going to be like, sorry, Mr. President, I got some coffee to drink.
What people are saying, President Donald Trump signed the executive order on Monday pardoning the January 6 prisoners, while telling reporters he'd hoped all the prisoners would be released that night. We hope that they come out tonight, frankly. These people have been destroyed. What they've done to these people is outrageous. There's rarely been anything like it in history of our country, Trump said. In the video posted to Facebook, a Washington, D.C. police sergeant told a woman that not all the January 6 prisoners would be released Monday night, and they were waiting to see what happens on Tuesday. It's a brand new day. Let's see what happens. Let's see what tomorrow brings. I'll probably be here with you, he said. What happened next? More prisoners will likely be released on Tuesday. If there are any delays, they will likely be because of administration and processing requirements.
There you go.
So, yeah, there you go.
Red
But at the
tape.
same time, just like, hey, why on earth is there red tape? The president issued a pardon. They should just be like, get it done.
Yeah. But again, this is what happens when you have bureaucrats running the system. This is what it is, man. Like I said, the punishment is the process. And I'll say that again. It's like with Donald Trump and all of his legal cases, 37-time convicted felon, Donald Trump. The punishment isn't him actually getting jailed, or having to pay a fine. The punishment is the process. The punishment is him going through, getting fingerprinted, is going to the courthouse, getting his prison picture taken. Same for these people. The process is the punishment. The red tape, the bureaucracy, that's the punishment, man.
Said
Because you don't think these people aren't going to sue the government and win?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's Yeah, and it is. I hope they do win. I mean, if anybody deserves to have money given to them by the federal government, it's these people who have their life
Yeah, I mean,
destroyed.
first of all, I hope these people already have GoFundMe pages set up for them so they can just sit comfortably for the rest of their lives. But I mean, 4 years sitting in prison without a trial for most of them. And again, remember, and a lot of these people who have no concept of law or the legal process were sitting there going, so the people that were convicted weren't actually convicted. They did a plea deal. They go, look, if you just say you did this, then you won't be locked up for as
you're
long.
looking at 20 years versus like 1 year.
Yeah.
So which one would you rather have? Of course.
And you have these, government-appointed lawyers who are going to be like, look, I'm not a good lawyer. You're not going to win this thing. You're going up against the federal government. It's like,
and even if it's their personal lawyer, a local hometown, like say some of these people are from Alaska and Arkansas, your hometown lawyer is not going to be the best representation of federal law.
Yeah, in the District of Columbia. So,
and they have to remember, this is also about the same time that Trump's lawyers were getting indicted too. So now these people are like, what if the lawyers looked at him and go, what if I get charged for insurrection?
For helping
defend my client.
Yeah, we've come a long way from that. Anybody remember that movie Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks, where that guy was basically trying to get the Russian spy off? He goes, he deserves a good lawyer. He deserves a fair trial. And that's the problem. We don't have. I will say, it's like most of us would have been on the other side going, yeah, this guy should not be trying to get this good of a case for a communist spy. But, it's like he's doing that for someone who's not a citizen. And it's like, but our citizens, like lawyers are like, oh, I'm too afraid to do that. I don't want to get screwed over. I don't want to go to jail like Trump's lawyers are being threatened to go to jail for doing their jobs, protecting their client. I mean, this is what it has turned into. The Democrats have weaponized the legal system and lawfare.
Yep.
They're going against. They are literally prosecuting lawyers for doing their job. Trump's lawyers. They go, well, you were part. You knew. You were part of Trump's conspiracy of a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. But next one I have pulled up here is from the New York Post. The first two January 6 prisoners released from Trump's day one pardon. Two brothers convicted in connection with the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack became the first two rioters to be freed late Monday after President Trump issued day one pardons for hundreds of the participants. Andrew and Matthew Valentine from Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, were released from the Central Detention Facility in Washington, D.C. just before midnight. Trump's administration officials announced outside the jail, adding that Elon Musk was the mastermind behind their freedom.
Wow.
The first two January 6 defendants have been released in a few hours after the president signed the historic pardon, with the White House liaison to the Justice Department, Paul Ingratian, told reporters, calling the pardon a monumental moment in history. And there's a picture of the two brothers that got released, so they released two out of 1,500 prisoners that they have. Wow, how magnanimous of those police officers and the Washington, D.C. police force. Injustice is ending in America tonight, and it's a dark chapter in our country's history coming to an end. Trump, 78, said he issued approximately 1,500 pardons at the White House between the inaugural festivities on Monday. Hours after he swore into office, the president signed a document commuting 14 prison sentences and issuing full and complete unconditional pardons to all the other individuals convicted of these offenses related to the events that occurred near the Capitol on January 6, 2021. The Justice Department criminally charged 1,583 people in connection with the riot, which broke out after Trump, while serving the final days of his term, told thousands of his supporters that the 2020 election was being stolen from him. The rioters stormed the Capitol and trying to halt the counting of the Electoral College votes and would confirm Joe Biden's win. Valentine brothers were just sentenced on Friday 2.5 years ago. Wow, 2.5 years ago. That's how long these guys have been in there, according to the Conoco record. Let's see here. Matthew Valentine, 32, pleaded guilty in September to 2 felony accounts of assaulting and resisting impeding certain officers, with their facing up to 8 years in prison, with local outlet reporting. His younger brother, Andrew, 27, pleaded guilty to a felony count of the same charge as well as one felony count of assaulting, resisting, and impeding officers with deadly and dangerous weapons. He faced up to 28 years behind bars. Neither entered the Capitol building on January 6th, but both were involved in scuffles with law enforcement officers. So again, what we were just talking about. You're going to take 20 years, you're going to take a 5 to 7 year plea deal, you know. And you don't have that great of a lawyer, you just have your hometown lawyer or an appointed lawyer like, I would take this deal because I don't know if I can get you out of this.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you have somebody, a lawyer who's alleged expert in lawfare, being like, yeah, dude, I don't think I can help you here. Or I'm too lazy to actually go through and do the whole legal work. You know what I mean? Like, if you have to go to court, you got to do more paperwork, man. You think a lawyer wants to do more paperwork if he doesn't have to?
No.
Like, he's already guaranteed his paycheck.
Yeah. Says here, Matthew violently grabbed an officer's neck, sprayed a chemical irritant towards the officers, while Andrew hurled a chair, officer striking one. The U.S. Attorney Office of the District of Columbia said the sentencing memo. Both also stole officers' batons while berating the cops, according to the memo. Andrew penned a letter apologizing for his actions, while the lawyer for Matthew said he has mentioned more than once how haunted he is by his actions daily.
Okay, see, and this article is so biased too. It's like they mentioned the two guys, they're probably the only two guys who got in scuffles with police officers, instead of the MAGA meemaws that are locked up in jail right now.
I think this was purpose too. Like I said, the two guys who get released were two guys who actually got in scuffles with police.
Yeah.
Why not release the people who had zero scuffles with the police?
Yeah, we're talking the MAGA meemaws going on a tour of the Capitol. The ones that just walked in when the police officers were waving them in the building. We have the video footage of police. Come on in, walking single file line, exploring the Capitol building. Like, of course, they released these guys who complied with the police and, you know, were the violent ones here. I mean, this is what's so disgusting about the people who write these articles. They're going, see, we have the proof. These are the ones that got in scuffles with police officers.
Yeah.
You know, and instead, it's like we'd rather focus on the people that are wrongfully in there.
Yep. And then the only thing that it kind of ends with here, it's just them saying how sorry they are, blah, blah, blah. Says here, the Capitol Police Officer Brian Sitnick, 42, himself a Trump voter, died of a stroke one day after the Capitol attack. 2 police officers died by suicide within days of the violence. So, 2 police officers died, one of them from a stroke, and another one committed suicide.
How many people still believe that those police officers died because of the events there? It's like, no, man, these people, like, these officers did not, like, most police officers get off on doing stuff like, you know, like preventing riots and stuff. Like, the fact that their lives were probably in shambles back home is why they ended themselves, not because of scuffling with tourists at the Capitol. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's nuts.
Yep. But that was the article I was showing you that was more like from the White Ring perspective because it was from the Washington Post. Here is everyone's favorite New York Times. This is how they frame it. Judge begins freeing January 6 defendants and dismissing their cases. 2 prominent far-right extremists with central roles in the Capitol attack, Enrique Ontario of the Proud Boys and Stuart Rhodes of the Oath Keepers Militia, have been set free.
Enrique Tarrio was not at the riots. He wasn't even in the state, or the district.
Yeah,
like they're like he was the mastermind. Like Enrico Ontario has been a known FBI informant for I think 6 or 7 plus years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But one day after the president issued sweeping legal reprieve to all of nearly 1,600 people charged with connection to the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, some of the defendants started having their cases dismissed or even begin to be released from custody. By Tuesday afternoon, 2 of the country's most prominent far-right extremists, Enrique Ontario of the Proud Boys and Stuart Rhodes of the Oath Keepers Militia, who played central roles in the Capitol attack, had been set free. Mr. Tarrio, who served a 22-year term for a conviction on charges of seditious conspiracy, received a pardon from Mr. Trump and walked out of the prison in Pollock, Louisiana. I'm assuming that's Louisiana.
Yeah.
And Mr. Rhodes, who was serving an 18-year term on similar charges, had his sentence commuted to time served and was freed from his prison in Cumberland,
Michigan.
No, that's MD. Isn't that Maryland?
Oh, Maryland, yeah. Sorry, I thought it was MI.
No. Defense lawyers said that the other members of the Proud Boys, Joseph Biggs, who was one of Mr. Tarrio's co-defendants, was released from after Mr. Trump commuted his sentence. Mr. Biggs had served was serving 17 years in prison after his own conviction of seditious conspiracy charges.
Seditious. And again, that's such a weak charge, seditious conspiracy. Like, I mean, you could have a seditious conspiracy to basically take a dump and do an upper decker in a toilet in Washington D.C. It's like a seditious conspiracy to leave an upper decker in the White House. You know, like that's a seditious conspiracy. That's what you charge somebody when you have nothing to charge them with.
Exactly. Additional members of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers were expected to be freed within the coming days. Defendants have also started releasing from local jail in Washington, where several rioters have been held for years in special area nicknamed the Patriot Wing. On Monday night, 2 brothers from Pennsylvania, the Valentine brothers, were set free, only days after being sentenced to 2.5 years on charges of assaulting the police. They helped break the police line by shoving metal barricades into officers, and Matthew Valentine violently grabbed one of the officers' necks. Prosecutors wrote in the sentencing memo of the men that they had assaulted by stealing the police batons and berating officers. On Tuesday, dozens of supporters gathered outside Washington jail, blaring conservative songs over loudspeakers. Trump won, and you know it. Fox News won't even show it.
Yeah.
went on medley. 3 Republican members of Congress stopped by: Representative Eli Crane of Arizona, Chip Roy of Texas, and Lauren Boebert of Colorado. Miss Boebert said that she wanted to be the first member of Congress to offer any released detainees a guide of the Capitol.
Yeah.
Mr. Rhodes showed up at jail fresh from his release and from prison, echoing Mr. Trump's own complaints about federal investigators.
You know, and what's interesting too is, you know, it says they assaulted the police officers by grabbing their neck. You know, like typically most of us will view assault as like attacking somebody, like hitting them in the face, punching them, kicking them, brutally attacking. Like assault, when it comes to a police officer, or technically battery, is just touching them. I mean, assault is just like you could
verbal.
You could yell something rude to a police officer, and that's actually obstruction of justice. Like being rude to a police officer, they can arrest you for being rude to them. Again, the police can do absolutely anything to you if they feel that they are being attacked or perceived as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you say harsh language to them, it's like going like, I mean, seriously, like when you're in a high intensity environment, those people thought the election was stolen, going, you guys are scumbags defending the Democrats, you know, like Trump's your president. You know, it's a hostile environment. It's like, and the worst thing he did was grab a guy by the neck. Yes, is that emasculating? Sure, but I mean, like when you talk about like violent activity, we're talking like hurting people. We're talking, you know, hitting people in the face repeatedly.
Yeah.
Not just like emasculating someone by grabbing them and acting like the big tough guy, like, hey, look here, buddy, you're not a hero, you're not a patriot, you're just you're a black shirt Nazi, you know, working for the bad guys. Mm-hmm. Like that's what we're talking about here. So it's like they're trying to make these guys out like they're violent criminals. It's like they took a police officer's baton. Yes, that's humiliating on the police officer's part. You don't disarm a police officer, and they grabbed him by the neck. Okay. Look, I don't want anybody grabbing me by the neck either, and that's technically battery on a police officer, but not in like not the violent way that they're phrasing it to be. It's just like, again, this is why if you saw it, you'd be like, ugh, bad look, but like permanently going to jail forever for this? Nah, not so much.
20 years in prison is a little much, but I'll end it with this little last part right here.
Yeah.
He said he hopes that Kash Patel, Mr. Trump's pick to run the FBI, cleans house at the Bureau, and asserted that the prosecutors who tried a seditious case should themselves be prosecuted, which Kash Patel himself even said this. Like, these FBI agents that did this and the prosecutors that went after this should be investigated themselves because how weak the evidence was for a lot of these people. Not all of them. If they actually assaulted police officers, yes, they should be in trouble.
Yeah,
but we're talking
not
about
3 or 4 years in prison. Like we're talking like sit in jail for a couple of hours and think about what you did.
Yeah. But that's, I mean, and you see that's super biased take. I mean, they talk about far right extremists. Like, you know, you're throwing words in there that don't need to be put in there. When they start using words to describe things, that's putting your own bias into the account.
Well, again, but
like, here's this person, here's what they've been accused of. That's it.
But yeah, I mean, this article here is the last efforts of a dying media to cling to relevancy. They go, well, if we're partisan, people will read us, you know.
Mm-hmm. Which brings up the next thing that I was going to pull up here. Let me get multi-screen, get ready. But this is to show you, like, and it still happens today. Like when I typed in a January 6th conspiracy, and everything that popped up was like negative stuff on Google. I was trying to figure out, I was like, where does it talk about the FBI informants being on the ground? And everything that I read
there were no FBI.
Exactly. It's like right-wingers push conspiracy that FBI was on the ground. And like this news outlet right here actually does a pretty fair take of breaking it down. You can see the bias coming from, your particular side of the media. So we'll check this out.
It's been nearly 4 years since the January 6th Capitol riot, and a new DOJ watchdog report reveals how involved the FBI was that day. But how the Inspector General's report is being reported by the media looks a lot different depending on the news outlet's political bias. Left-leaning news outlets are focusing in on one statistic from the report, while news outlets on the right are highlighting another. CNN, no undercover FBI agents were at the January 6th U.S. Capitol riot. Politico, FBI didn't deploy undercover agents on January 6th, undercutting conspiracy theories. Fox.
Now, I'll pause it right there. So when I typed in on Google, January 6th conspiracy, that's what popped up.
Not this right here.
Not the one that just popped up, the one just before that was like, there were no FBI, new survey finds that there were no FBI agents on the ground. And that's technically true. Because they're honing in on the language. They go, there are no agents on the ground, and they're ignoring the word informants. And then they say,
or independent contractors.
Exactly, and they're ignoring the words that they also ignore words like they weren't paid. Well, actually, it turns out that these informants were paid. Now, there were 3 of them there that were being paid and were actually supposed to be there, and then there were 8 other ones that weren't supposed to be there that were just there. So, why are your informants going rogue?
Mm-hmm.
FBI, you have no control over anything. You should be dismantled.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get back to this video.
News, 26 FBI informants were present on January 6th. The New York Post, FBI had 26 informants at January 6th Capitol riots, and most were involved. The Inspector General found both of these things to be true in its report, that there were no undercover agents or people employed by the FBI, but there were roughly 24 FBI informants or confidential human sources who report intelligence back to the Bureau. Of the 26 informants, according to the report, the FBI instructed 3 of them to go to the Capitol, most of the rest of them going on their own accord. 4 informants entered the Capitol building, one of whom was assigned by the FBI to be there, and 13 entered restricted grounds. News outlets on the left are largely reporting this new finding debunks conspiracy theories regarding the FBI having been involved or instigated the riot, while news outlets on the right are largely reporting it offering substance to claims of the FBI being present in the crowd that day. Here's how Politico started their report. A Justice Department watchdog found no evidence that the FBI deployed undercover agents to the Capitol or nearby protests on January 6, 2021, further undercutting debunked conspiracy theories about the riot being instigated by law enforcement. This in contrast to the New York Post coverage, writing the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground in Washington, D.C. during the January 6, 2021 storming of the Capitol.
Pause.
Most of whom...
So, this is why whenever we have conversations with people of different political ilk, we talk past each other. Because we're consuming 2 different sources of information. It's like... And both have bits of truth in them.
But here's the other part, is like most people who are getting their news off social media websites like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, they'll read that headline or they'll read like the first paragraph and it's done. And what you don't realize is that the moment that, even on some of these ones from like Politico, if you keep reading, it talks about the informants in there. And it's just like, but there are no agents on the ground.
Yeah.
But there were informants. It's just like, okay, so your own story that you cited to me debunked what you said. Said, oh, just
but not
because
from
they're not agents.
Not from a technical perspective, though. And again, this is why we talk past each other when we're talking to people about the same thing. We're talking about the same article, but it's framed in a different way. So we cannot have rational dialogue with people because the people who are totally on board with the left are going to be like, the articles from CNN said that there were no FBI agents on the ground. Therefore, the FBI wasn't involved at all. And it's like, well, and then it's like you get it from Fox or from, the New York Post. It's like, but the New York Post said that there were FBI informants on the ground and some of them were being paid to be there. It's like, what are you talking about? So these guys are like independently contracted informants out there doing the bidding of the FBI? So this is why it's so difficult to have rational dialogue with people, because literally, like, somebody, like, literally, I could be having a conversation with someone, they could post me the CNNRC, you're wrong, and then I could post this back to them and be like, here's the 26 informants that were there, and then 3 of them were paid by the FBI to be there. So what are we talking about here? Well, I'll tell you what we're talking about. We're just talking past each other. We can't have rational dialogue because we could be looking at the same picture and come to 2 completely different conclusions. I mean, modern discourse is like modern art. We're looking at the same picture and somebody's like, it's beautiful. And then the other person's going, this is like, it's somebody crapped on a piece of paper and called it art.
Mm-hmm. So get back and we'll finish up this video and we'll close it out.
Engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. Leadership at the Bureau had long been adamant that it did not have sources who orchestrated the riot. Questions about whether the FBI had informants involved in the riots were met with conspiracy theory labels by many mainstream media outlets. Differences in how left and right media interpreted the Inspector General's report was also evident in their broadcasts.
The FBI had 26 confidential human sources there that day. 26. A confidential human source is a guy the FBI pays
We
to
showed
spy
this on
for
our
them.
show.
They're just freelancing for the feds. Rats in MAGA hats.
There were no undercover FBI employees at the Capitol during the riot.
This finding runs directly counter to speculation from allies of President-elect Donald Trump, who for years have suggested the violence that day was provoked by federal agents.
And both MSNBC and Fox took swings at the other side's interpretation of the report.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the numbers that were reflected in the report, I just think that this is definitely something that we're going to see a lot of the right-wing media run with. That number is certainly going to raise a lot of concerns, I think, on the right, and that's something that we've seen some Republicans in Congress really zero in on, this notion that this was all driven by these confidential human sources. And to be clear, what they say is that there's zero evidence whatsoever that any of these individuals, who even those who did enter the Capitol, were being instructed to do anything by the FBI. That was just something that they did on their own.
The media today is cherry picking the report to say there were no undercover agents there on January 6th. The whole thing's a conspiracy. These aren't articles, they're FBI press releases.
While the Inspector General's report was meant to clarify the FBI's involvement on January 6, it has done little to resolve the political divide over the events of that day. The debate over January 6 continues to fuel division in American politics and media. Thanks for watching our news.
You know what's sad, too, is if the FBI is as useful as an organization as everyone claims that it is, why wouldn't they have actual agents on the ground in order to prevent stuff like this? Like, isn't that their job?
You would think.
And you'd be like, we have 26 informants that are going to be at this thing. Don't you think we should have some agents on the ground maybe supporting these informants, or, you know, giving intel back to the White House saying, hey, bad stuff's going to happen? Clearly, the FBI is not a useful organization anymore.
Indeed.
So, yeah, it's just
100% agree.
Again, free the political prisoners from J6. Let them go back to their families, and I mean, even thank goodness Trump saved that $500 million, because I imagine that's probably from getting out of the WHO. But I imagine that $500 million is probably going to all these J6ers who will be suing the government for wrongful imprisonment.
Yep. Truthfully, it should just come out of Democratic states and Democratic coffers' pockets.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
And CNN.
Should come out of Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio is what it should come out of.
That would be.
She's the one who she could have prevented the riots and it prevented these people going to jail if she just let the National Guard show up that day, which she denied.
Yep, she did. Remember, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi control if the National Guard get released in D.C. because they don't have like a mayor or governor. So it's the Speaker of the House and the House Minority Leader that control that. And it was Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Like said, Trump can't do it. Like said, Trump cannot send.
The president cannot activate troops on American soil.
He has to have approval from the governor before he can do that.
Or, in this case, approval from Nancy Pelosi.
So anyway, here's this next one. We'll start wrapping up some of the funnier stuff, and then we'll get ready to get out of here. So the first one we have here is this meme that Trump has got rid of the Spanish translation web page on the White House website or something like that.
Let's
It's hilarious.
check it out.
Site, the Spanish version, cannot be found anymore. And in this little box that takes you to the home page, the words that they chose to use are "go home." The White House government.
I love it. I love it.
I don't think that's real though. I bet you could probably look that up right now, like Google it, and see if that's actually there, or if this is just somebody just screwing around and this girl got, or
It's
she's
possible,
trying to get everybody
but
on that.
It wouldn't shock me, and it's funny.
It is funny. It's just a funny meme at this point. But yeah, what else you got?
Next one here is Trump taking out the garbage.
Comrade, you're fired. Get out. Get out. Get out.
Yes, it was. Little AI
Comrade,
generated their face
you're
over
fired.
it. and they're
Get out.
kicking her out.
Get out.
I love
Get
it.
out.
I love it. That's awesome. All right. Then this next one you sent me, and I thought this one was pretty funny myself. If I can get it to load for me.
Monday was a super tough day to be a woman, and not for the reasons you think, like not for the obvious reason, not because of Melania's hat, not because Laura Sanchez showed everyone in the greater Washington area her nipples. No, it was the woman driving the golf cart at the national championship. If you didn't see it, there's a video of a woman driving a golf cart with the quarterback and the head coach of the Ohio State football team. They just won the national championship. And she drove that golf cart straight into a wall. I saw that video and I was like, we're worried about our right to choose. They're going to take away our driver's license. They're going to take away our right to drive. That video really put into context why people won't vote for women for president and why they won't let us be in charge. Women, we're down bad. We're down real bad right now, and we need to get our bag up. We need to know how to drive a golf cart.
Oh my God, that was awesome! Good job, girl. That's hilarious. That was good. But yeah, no, that was hilarious, man. That girl just drove straight into the wall. She's like, "Oh, this thing's got good turn radius." No, it's a golf cart, sweetie. It's like a elongated golf cart too, so it's gonna have even worse turn radius. So, oh my God, that was so funny though.
Oh, God. Well, this next one I have is just a funny joke that you sent. And why are eggs so expensive right now? And here's why. This guy tells his wife a good reason why they are.
It's so expensive right now.
Why? Because all the hens are identifying as roosters.
Got him.
Got him.
Yeah, his wife was not ready for that.
Yeah, but that's, unless you want to go over these two, like I said, that's all I've got. We can just end it out.
We'll close it out today. But again, free the January 6th rioters. Trump signed a pardon. I mean, again, Joe Biden signed 8,000 pardons, and I don't think anybody questioned getting those people out of prison. Like, they were out day of. We're talking guys that had 47,000 images of child pornography downloaded, and that Chinese national got released that day. But these poor January 6 people who were taking a tour of the Capitol, MAGA meemaws walking around, are still locked up. There's something wrong with our judicial system in this country. And again, the political persecution of people that don't need to be in prison right now. And again, the taxpayers are going to be taking another hit because these people are going to countersue the government and say, hey, I was wrongfully imprisoned for however long I've been in jail. So, sad day, man. But anyway, that's all we've got for you today. This is the Twins with Owasso Live. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you can stay in the loop. But that's all we've got for you. God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
In the name of transgender immigrants, I ask you to have mercy on
Do you need some medicine?
I need you to put transgenders' lives first!
Whoa, is this a church or a Kamala Harris rally?
Mr. Not My President, illegal immigrants are not criminals!
Then why do they call them illegal? Boo!
Building the wall will violate the rights of all illegal immigrants!
That's exactly why I'm building the wall!
And just exactly what are you gonna do to help the transgender community, you monster?
I'm gonna make mental institutions great again!
Hell yeah!
Settle down, you dingbat!
This chick is bonkers!
Yeah, she should come with a fucking warning label.
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children!
Keep our children's name out your fucking mouth!
You racist!
Can somebody shut this bitch up?
Have mercy on the transgenders and illegals, you racist!
Can you you shut the fuck up?
Yeah, shut the fuck up!
I'm down here trying to come up with new ways to make America great again, and you're up there looking like the keynote speaker of a which bathroom do I pee in convention. Excuse me?
You're excused!
I have never!
You've never what? Made a rational thought on your own or gone 2 seconds without having a fucking panic attack?
How dare you!
No, how dare you? This is church, and you don't belong here. Why don't you go screaming through a pumpkin, you doofus?
Yeah, you doofus! Government should have won, you psycho!
Knock.
Who's there?
Go fuck yourself!
Yeah, go fuck yourself! I'm calling the police!
Good! You're gonna feel right at home in that straitjacket.
I'm a bitch!
No, you're an activist and a freaking nut job. Jeez, it's like listening to Rosie O'Donnell taking a shit.